hearing has started now. I am inviting the prosecution counsel to present their case. Prosecution.
Your Excellencies, may it please the court.
Yes, who is the prosecution counsel one? I can't see her.
Your Excellencies, I am the counsel of the prosecution.
Okay, Shushmita, could you please turn your camera so that we can see you properly?
I have also already turned on my camera, sir.
Your camera is turned on because, but the angle is not okay, I think.
You need to, the orientation is wrong, I
Yeah.
believe.
Okay, give me 1 minute, just.
Okay.
Is it okay now?
No, not okay.
Okay.
Yeah, now you are okay.
Your Excellencies, please give me 1 minute to adjust the camera.
Yes.
Can I just put it up? এটা হবে না হবে না এটা না দিলে শোনা যাবে না আচ্ছা হাতে দিয়ে ভাই আমার কি ধরা লাগবে কি ঠিক ঠিক ধরতে হবে is it okay now?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
You can start.
Your Excellencies, may it please the court.
Yes, please.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. My name is Shushmita Bonik. I appear before you as counsel on behalf of the prosecution in the case of Prosecutor versus Brigadier Xzavier. I will be speaking for 6 minutes addressing the first and second issue, and my co-counsel will speak for another 4 minutes addressing the third issue, and we reserve 2 minutes for rebuttal. If Your Excellencies have no preliminary queries, may I proceed?
Yes, you may proceed.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, the first issue concerns whether the prosecutor may now move from a preliminary examination of the situation in Zenzic to an investigation. In this regard, we will be making 2 key submissions. The first submission will establish that crime have been committed within the jurisdiction of the court, and under the second submission, we will establish that prosecutor proprio motu is acceptable. Your Excellencies, under Article 5 of the Rome Statute, it is stated that crime have been within the jurisdiction of the court. There is a reasonable basis to believe at this time that a broad range of conduct constitute war crimes and crimes against humanity in the territory of Zenzic. The Republic of Zenzic ratified Rome Statute in 2002. Thereby, ICC has currently jurisdiction over the present case. May I draw your kind attention to the agreed fact, para num 13 and 14. Here you will see that there is a grave breach of human rights in Zenzic. The NGO TTP also reported the same. The evidence is proving that Zenzic military has committed the crimes under the command of the Brigadier Xzavier. As Brigadier Xzavier is liable and the ICC has the jurisdiction, so this case should be prosecuted. Your Excellencies, prosecutor proprio motu is acceptable. The Office of the Prosecutor of the ICC conducts independent and impartial preliminary examination, investigation and proceedings of crimes of genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes and the crimes of aggression. Since 2003, the office has been conducting investigation in multiple situations within the ICC's jurisdiction, namely the Uganda, Democratic Republic of Congo, Darfur, Sudan, Bangladesh versus Myanmar and Afghanistan. Your Excellencies, for the past 4 years, massive crimes have been committed in Zenzic. They allegedly raided the villages, killed the villagers, raped and burned the civilians, stated in the para 23 of the Statement of Agreed Fact. For the past 4 years, no amount of negotiation has allowed to abate the violence. As of today, 12,000 people has died. Your Excellencies, the defense argued in the page 7 of the written memorial about the OTP's conduct, but they missed that Article 53 of the Rome Statute has allowed the prosecutor of the court to use his discretion to decide or initiate an investigation or prosecute a case for the interest of justice. The court's mandate to end an impunity. Also, under Article 17 of the Rome Statute, this case is also admissible because there is no investigation or proceeding is going against Brigadier Xzavier right now. The Republic of Zenzic did not prosecute this case in the national court after observing this brutality. So it is clear that the state is unwilling. So under Article 17, this case is also admissible to the court. Your Excellencies, if you have no further queries regarding first issue, may I move with my second issue?
Yes, please move to the second issue.
Much obliged to your Excellencies. Our second issue concerns whether Brigadier Xzavier is criminally accountable for committing crimes against humanity against the civilian of Zenzic under the Article 7(1)(a) of the Rome Statute. We'll establish in our case by two key submissions. Firstly, Brigadier is liable for command responsibility, and secondly, Article 7(1)(a) of the Rome Statute is violated. Brigadier is liable for command responsibility, Your Excellencies. Because according to Article 28(a) of the Rome Statute, a military commander or person is effectively acting as a military commander shall be criminally responsible for the crimes within the jurisdiction of the court committed by his force under his effective command or control. In Kashiyama case, the chamber held that under a duty to consider the responsibility of individual who exercise effective control, whether the control was de jure or de facto. The Prosecutor versus Blasik case, it was also identified three elements of the command responsibility, such as there existed a superior and subordinate relationship between the commanders, and the accused knew or had reason to know that crimes have been committed in the territory, or accused failed to take necessary and reasonable measures to prevent that crime. Your Excellencies, Brigadier Xzavier, as a brigadier of the armed force of the Republic of Zenzic, exercises both de jure and the de facto authority over the massive military operation conducted for the 4 years. The accused had reason to know that the crimes had been committed within the jurisdiction of the court or the territory of the Zenzic, but he did not take any reasonable measures to prevent this. So he is liable for command responsibility, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, I would like to draw your kind attention to the Defense Memorial, page 11, where they have also agreed that Brigadier Xzavier has committed crimes against humanity. Your Excellencies, Article 7(1)(a) of the Rome Statute is also violated. Murder is the first element of the crimes against humanity, Your Excellencies. In the Zenzic case, murder is defined as homicide with the intention to cause death. In the Blasik chamber, it was also decided that there are some requirements for murder to be considered as a crime against humanity, such as the accused must be intention to intention to kill the people and intention to cause harm the civilian the people. Your Excellencies, as a commander of Zenzic military, Brigadier Xzavier is criminally accountable because under his command, this crime have been committed in the territory of Zenzic, which is also stated in the 17 of the agreed fact. Your Excellencies, subjective elements of the crimes against humanity also fulfilled because these crimes were spread and systematic attack. Brigadier Xzavier were systematically attack upon the civilian, and this is also stated in the para 14 and 19 of the agreed fact. If Your Excellencies have no further queries, I'd like to conclude my submission and invite my co-counsel for the submission.
Counsel, I have a question to ask. You talked about the subjective element of crime against humanity. So could you please refer the relevant facts from where you come to know that the subjective elements have been fulfilled in this given fact?
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, the subjective elements of the crimes against humanity, the act was widespread or systematic attack was civilian people or not. If I want to draw your kind attention to the agreed fact statement of agreed fact para 14 and 19. In that fact, in the Darcy defender who was deported by the Zenzic military force under the command of the Brigadier Xzavier, they have given the training, the weapons and the uniform by the Zenzic military under the command of the Brigadier Xzavier, and this movement also signifying that the Brigadier has pre-plannedly attack upon the civilian because they give the weapons, the uniforms to the force. So
Counsel,
this was a word. Yes.
Could you please refer again in which page and which paragraph?
Yes, Your Excellencies, please, may I draw your kind attention to the para 19 of the statement of agreed fact.
19. Okay. This is the last paragraph of page number 6, right?
Your Excellencies.
Don't you have the fact with you?
Yeah, yes, Your Excellencies.
So am I correct that this is page number 6 and the last paragraph is 19?
Last paragraph. The nong is 19. The para nong is 19, and in that paragraph it is stated that the Darcy defenders are affiliated with the Zenzic military, and Zenzic military has provided them the weapons, the arms, the training and recruitment process. Your Excellencies.
Paragraph 19, TPP found that the Darcy defender provides arms, uniforms and training. Are you referring this paragraph?
Yes, Your Excellencies.
Okay, so where you have found the subjective element of the crime against humanity in this paragraph?
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, as Zenzic military giving them training and recruiting them in the force, and also giving them the weapons, the uniforms. So it is pre-planned way to train up them, then attacking on the same people. So as to fulfill their and so they have directed the attack upon the civilian, and they have made a plan to attack upon the civilian, and also they prepared themselves for this for doing this crime. So that's why I am just saying that to be fulfill the subjective elements of the crimes against humanity, they are must be in a systematic way. So they are requiting firstly, and secondly they were giving the from the weapons. They are committing systematic way, and also they are killing and doing murders of the civilian people, raped or burned the people. So that's why I'm just submitting to you that the subjective elements of the crimes against humanity also fulfilled here.
Counsel, do you know the meaning of the term attack? Do you know the meaning of the term attack? As you are referring, this is a systematic attack. So is there a definition of attack given under the Geneva Conventions of 1949?
Your Excellencies, the attack can be considered as the crimes against humanity if this attack is against the civilian population who is not taking part in the war.
Who are civilian?
Your Excellencies, the person who is not taking part in the war and the part of the hostilities. Attack is the attempt to prove something invalid or incorrect through the judicial proceeding and the witnesses.
Is there a reference of article from Geneva Conventions where the term civilian has been defined?
Your Excellencies, the Fourth Geneva Convention has been directed to the acted as the who is the civilian and the protection of the civilian, drafted to protect the civilian people. The Fourth Geneva Convention of 1949.
Thank you, Counsel. You may proceed.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. I want to conclude my submission, and I like to invite my co-counsel.
Your Excellencies, may it please the court.
Yes, please.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. My name is Shobuz Hussain. I appear before you as counsel on behalf of prosecution in the case of Prosecutor versus Brigadier Xzavier. I will deal with issue number 3. If Your Excellencies have no preliminary queries, may I proceed?
Yes, you may proceed.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Our third issue concerns Brigadier Xzavier criminally
Counsel,
accountable.
Counsel 1, could you please mute your microphone? Sushmita Manik, could you please mute your microphone? Yeah.
Your Excellencies, our third issue concerns Brigadier Xzavier is criminally accountable for committing war crimes under Article 8 to B1 of the Rome Statute, intentionally directing attacks against the civilian population as such or against individual civilians not taking direct part in hostilities. Your Excellencies, I will present two key arguments regarding these issues. Firstly, there are serious violations of laws and customs of war. And secondly, Brigadier Xzavier is liable for common responsibility. Your Excellencies, under my first argument, we will prove that Brigadier Xzavier violated the Rome Statute and also violated the Geneva Conventions 1949. Your Excellencies, Brigadier Xzavier violated Article 82B1 of the Rome Statute 2002, which concerns intentionally directing attacks against civilian populations. Your Excellencies, I would like to draw your kind attention to para 14 of the agreed fact. The TPP report indicated that the term Dirty Defender had been widely used by victims of attacks. Many international organizations and the media in their reports on the situation in Zenzic to describe the attackers, where 12,000 civilians were killed and rapes were committed. Your Excellencies, victims of attack have also indicated that the members of Dirty Defenders were acting with and on behalf of the Zenzic military forces under the command of Brigadier Xzavier. Your Excellencies, those attacks were committed continuously between 2011 to 2014. Without the knowledge or command of the commander, it is impossible to continue attacks for 4 years for the forces, and the TPP cited materials indicating the recruitment, arming and training of militias by the Zenzic military. Your Excellencies, as they were acting under the command of Mr. Xzavier, they did what Mr. Xzavier had commanded. Your Excellencies, so by attacking on civilians, Brigadier Xzavier violated Article 82B1 of the Rome Statute. Your Excellencies, as the Republic of Zenzic is a party to the 4th Geneva Conventions of 1949 related to the protection of civilian persons in time of war. Thus, by directing attacks against civilian persons, he violated the 4th Geneva Conventions. Your Excellencies, under my second argument, we will prove Brigadier Xzavier is liable for command responsibility. Your Excellencies, under Article 28A of the Rome Statute, it says that a military commander or person effectively acting as a military commander shall be criminally responsible for crimes within the jurisdiction of the command court committed by forces under his or her effective command and control. Your Excellencies, I would like to draw your kind attention to para 14, 19, 22 and 23 of the agreed fact. Your Excellencies, Dirty Defenders were acting with and on behalf of the Zenzic military forces, and the recruitment of the Dirty Defender came under the regular military command and used to wear the same uniform as the unit they were fighting with. Your Excellencies, border manpower personnel were then also fighting alongside the regular armed forces, and they supplied uniforms, weapons, ammunition and payments to the Dirty Defenders. Your Excellencies, since Brigadier Xzavier is acting as a commander of the Zenzic military forces, he is criminally responsible for crimes committed by his forces. Your Excellencies, I would like to refer a case, the prosecutor was Jean-Pierre Bemba Gombo. Mr. Bemba was acting as a military commander and he was criminally responsible for pursuant to the Article 28A of the ICC Rome Statute for the crimes committed by his forces MLD troops in the Central African Republic. Your Excellencies, Trial Chamber 3 of the ICC declared unanimously Jean-Pierre Bemba Gombo guilty beyond any reasonable doubt of war crimes. Your Excellencies, regarding all the grounds, it is clear that Brigadier Xzavier is criminally accountable for committing war crimes under Article 82B1 of the Rome Statute. Your Excellencies, if you have no further queries, may I proceed to the prayer?
I have a question, Counsel. Jean-Pierre Bemba Gombo, this case was held in which court?
In International Criminal Court, Your Excellencies.
ICC in which year? Have you referred it in your memorial?
Yes, Your Excellencies. I referred the case in my memorial. This case was...
In which page, please?
Sir, Your Excellencies, can I have 2 seconds? 2 or 3 more seconds? Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, I have mentioned the case in our memorial in 23rd page.
23rd, okay.
And citation on 79.
How do you think that the decision of this case is relevant in the given fact?
Your Excellencies, this case was held command responsibility where crimes, war crimes were committed. And in this situation here, war crime is committed and there is command responsibility where Jean-Pierre Bemba Gombo was liable for the command responsibility of the MLC troops. In abbreviation of the MLC is Movement de Liberation du Congo. His troops committed crimes, and that's why he was liable for the crimes committed by his forces. And in this situation in Zenzic, Mr. Xzavier is liable for the crimes committed by his forces. Your Excellencies.
Thank you, Counsel. You may proceed.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, if you have no further queries, may I proceed to the prayer?
Yes, absolutely.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, we the prosecution humbly request this honorable court to adjust and declare that firstly, the prosecution may move from a preliminary examination of the situation in Zenzic to an investigation. Secondly, Brigadier Xzavier is criminally accountable for committing crimes against humanity against the civilians of Zenzic under Article 7 1A of the Rome Statute. Your Excellencies, finally, Brigadier Xzavier is criminally accountable for committing war crimes under Article 8(2)(b)(1) of the Rome Statute. Your Excellencies, if you have no further queries, may I conclude my submission here?
Yes, thank you.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies.
Bench officer. Defense counsel will come now.
Now, I am inviting the defense counsel to present their case. Defense.
May it please Your Excellencies.
Yes, please.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, this is the first counsel on behalf of the defense. If Your Excellencies do not have any queries regarding the facts of the case, the counsel would like to proceed with the arguments.
Yes.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, the first issue that is going to be submitted by the first counsel is whether the prosecutor may now move from a preliminary examination of the situation in Zenzic to an investigation. Your Excellencies, the prosecutor may not move from a preliminary examination of the situation in Zenzic to an investigation. In Part 5, Article 53 of the Rome Statute, it deals with the rules regarding initiation of investigation. Subarticle 1 of Article 53 talks about what the prosecutor shall consider while deciding to initiate the investigation. According to Subarticle 1A of Article 53, the information at hand does not involve Brigadier Xzavier exclusively in any criminal activities. The Darcy defender identifies into different categories in the agreed upon facts. One category, militias, operate mainly under tribal management. They also act on their own initiative to undertake small-scale actions to loot property for personal gain. Brigadier Xzavier has no connection to the border's manpower, and if they are involved in atrocities, it is without any ties to Brigadier Xzavier. Your Excellency, Subarticle 1B of Article 53 says that the case is or would be admissible under Article 17. Your Excellencies, according to Subarticle 1A of Article 17, the case is inadmissible because Zenzic have no reason to start an investigation into Brigadier Xzavier since he has no connection, even remotely, to any atrocity. Your Excellencies, Brigadier Xzavier have also released an official statement where he says that they act independently of the Zenzic military forces and take advantage of the general climate of chaos and impunity. Your Excellencies, it is of great importance to take into account that the conflicts between Zoic fighters and Darcian gathering was mediated by the government, which resulted into ceasefire. Again, the government considered intervening when these two groups started their military activities. Thus, the state has every intention of looking into cases which are of threat and real, Your Excellencies. But the Republic of Zenzic have no reason to start an investigation into Brigadier Xzavier since he has no connection to any atrocity that may be considered as crimes against humanity. Your Excellencies, according to Subarticle 1C of Article 53, there are nonetheless substantial reasons to believe that an investigation would not serve the interests of justice. The Republic of Zenzic had been facing constant tribal conflicts and geographical climate changes. The term Darcy defender was used by different victims, members of authorities, to describe particular men. It was later confirmed that these men were in fact members of the civilian soldiers. Again, a senior member of the local authorities had described one man as local Darcy, which Zenzic provincial authorities referred the same man as being member of the civilian soldiers. Finally, the man himself showed evidence that he was a member of the Voice Risers. Thus, there is no definite way to identify the militias or tie the militias to the military forces. Thus, has nothing to establish connections to Brigadier Xzavier. If Your Excellencies do not have any further queries regarding the first issue, the Council would like to move on to the next issue.
Counsel, I have a question to ask.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies.
What is meant by civilian soldier?
Your Excellency, in the agreed upon fact, the civilian soldiers is a tribal group who have been committing different militia activities in the Republic of Zenzic.
So militia activities, is there a definition of a militia given under the additional protocol 1?
Pardon, Your Excellencies, the Council is not privy to that information at the moment.
So why you are telling that they are the civilian soldiers? The term soldiers is referred in Geneva Conventions or any other relevant laws applicable in ICL or IHL.
Your Excellency, civilian soldier is a group. The name of the group is civilian soldier. Council have not referred to them as soldiers in the literal term.
Now I get your point. So they are not the soldiers. They comprise the group, right? They are termed as civilian soldiers.
Affirmative, Your Excellency.
Yeah, thank you. You may proceed.
Much obliged, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, the second issue that is going to be submitted by the Council is whether Brigadier Xzavier may be held criminally accountable for committing crimes against humanity against the civilians of Zenzic under Article 7.1a of the Rome Statute. Article 7.1a talks about murder as a crime against humanity. There are three elements to the crime of murder. Your Excellency, the first element being the perpetrator killed one or more persons. Your Excellencies, Brigadier Xzavier have not killed nor contributed to killings of people. The reality is that it cannot be determined whether any of the perpetrators were under the commandment of Brigadier Xzavier. Article 86 sub-article 2 of additional protocol says that Brigadier Xzavier is responsible for breaches and activities of his subordinates. Your Excellencies, in Prosecutor versus Truger, it is stated, command does not arise solely from the superior's formal or de jure status, but can also be based on existence of de facto powers of control. Your Excellencies, the Darcy Defender identifies into different categories. We have already pleaded that one category militias operate mainly under tribal management and take their own initiatives. There is no connection to the military, so no de facto powers of control exist, nor any formal commandment exists, Your Excellencies. Thus, the element cannot be established. Your Excellencies, the third element of the crime of murder is the conduct was committed.
Counsel, before going to the third element, I would like to ask you the case you have referred, that the prosecutor versus Truger. So,
Yes, Your Excellency.
so have you referred this case in your memorial?
Yes, Your Excellencies, it has been referred in our memorial.
In which page and which paragraph, please?
Just a second, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, the case Prosecutor versus Truger has been mentioned in page number 10 of the Memorial of Defense. Council apologizes for the time taken, Your Excellency.
Yeah. Published Truger, the reference number 9. So why the decision is relevant here?
Your Excellency, more than the decision, in the paragraph, it has been stated that subordination may exist either in formal commandment or in de facto powers of control, which means the people could be under the influence of the commander. And as such, we are trying to establish that in the agreed upon facts, there are no shred of evidence that Brigadier Xzavier had any formal commandment in the tribal conflicts or any of the atrocities, nor any de facto powers of control. And as such, the Prosecutor versus Truger is relevant to our arguments, Your Excellency.
You may proceed.
Much obliged, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, the third issue that is going to be submitted by the Council is the perpetrator knew that the conduct was a part of or intended the conduct to be part of a widespread or systematic attack against civilian population. In Prosecutor versus Radovan Karadzic, it is stated that the mens rea of murder includes both direct and indirect intent. Your Excellencies, the prosecution have failed to establish neither direct intent or indirect intent. Brigadier Xzavier did not have any act or omission because he did not provide any command to carry out any systematic attack against civilian population, nor was the military taking part in any such atrocities. Your Excellencies, Brigadier Xzavier did not know about conducts pertaining to a systematic attack in the agreed upon facts. From the fact, it can be said that Brigadier Xzavier had no intention to commit an attack. Therefore, the question of knowledge about the attack committed is immaterial here. If Your Excellencies do not have any queries regarding the first Council, the Council would now like to call upon the second Council to make submissions to the Honorable Court.
Yes.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies.
May it please, Your Excellencies.
Yes, please.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, this is the second council on behalf of the defense. If Your Excellencies do not have further queries, the council would like to proceed with further arguments.
Yes, definitely, please.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, the third issue that is going to be addressed by the second council is that whether Brigadier Xzavier may be held criminally accountable for committing war crimes under Article 82bi of the Rome Statute. Your Excellencies, no, he should not be held liable for committing war crimes. There are 5 elements to prove this crime. The first one is that the perpetrator directed an attack. Your Excellencies, according to the fact, Article 25, Brigadier Xzavier gave an official statement. He denied the Zenzic military forces' involvement with Dershi defenders. He also said that they are taking advantages of general climate change. Your Excellencies, the case Prosecutor versus Abu Garda, it was held that there must be a causal link between the perpetrator's conduct and the consequences of the attack. As Brigadier Xzavier was commander, as per so the doctrine of command, the subordinate members followed his command, but he gave an official statement and denied the involvement with Dershi defenders, and he is not liable for this at all. Moreover, the fact states that there was a huge confusion about who are actually Dershi defenders. So it is clear that Brigadier Xzavier did not direct the attack. Your Excellencies, the second issue is that the object of the attack was a civilian population. Your Excellencies, the case Prosecution versus Katanga and Chui, it was decided that the war crime of attacking civilian population and civilians who are not taking direct part in hostilities is the first series in the war crime. But, Your Excellencies, according to the fact, Brigadier Xzavier denied the involvement with a Dershi defender. Moreover, there are many clashes which were done by the member who are not included in Dershi defenders, such as, according to the fact, Article number 17, a man who was confirmed by a member of Dershi defenders, later he himself confirmed himself as a voice raiser. So it is clear that a group of people wanted to make confuse the civilians and thus directed the attack. But Brigadier Xzavier is not aware of this situation, so he should not be held liable. Your Excellencies, the third point is that the perpetrator intended the civilian population. Your Excellencies, the case Prosecution versus Gallic, it was states about the mental element of an offense for attack. Your Excellencies, Article 85 of Additional Protocol states that willfully means the accused must have the knowledge and they must act with consciously and intent. Your Excellencies, Article 30 of Rome Statute states about mental element, and it states that a person may commit a crime with intent and knowledge. But in this case, we did not see anything about Brigadier Xzavier that he has the mens rea, so he did not conduct the attack. The fourth point is that the conduct took place in the context.
Could you please define knowledge according to the Rome Statute?
Your Excellencies,
what is meant
according to the
what is meant by knowledge according to Rome Statute?
Your Excellencies, knowledge means the perpetrator knows about the consequences of the attack.
So whether it would be the subjective element of the war crimes or crime against humanity?
Your Lordships, if anyone has mens rea, he can be held liable for this. Because to prove a crime, X rea and mens rea both are important.
So what's the difference between mens rea and subjective element?
But pardon, Your Lordship, Excellencies, the Council is not aware of this answer at this moment.
Okay, proceed on.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, the fourth point is that the conduct took place in the context of and was associated with international armed conflict. Your Excellencies, the conduct did not take place in the context of international armed conflicts. The case Nicaragua versus United States of America, it was stated that there are minimum rules that is applicable to international and non-international conflict, and that will differentiate these two terms. In this fact, the foreigners from Severin and Sylvian also recreated to take part the fights as a member of Dershi defenders, but it does not imply that it was an international armed conflict. Your Excellencies, the fifth point is that the perpetrator was aware of the factual circumstances of an existing armed conflict. No, the perpetrator was
Oh,
not
sorry.
aware of.
I want to interrupt here. So you
Much obliged,
referred
Your
it as international armed conflict. What's the difference between international armed conflict and non-international armed conflict?
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, according to Article 2 of Geneva Convention 1949, international armed conflict means when two or more states have the resources to create armed conflict against another state, and internet and non-international armed conflict means the armed conflict between a state and any organized military group.
So how do you identify the present situation as international or non-international armed conflict?
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. This is not international armed conflict at all. If your lordships look at the fact, the citizens of Severin and Sylvian worked on behalf of Dashi defenders, but there is no evidence that the government of Severin and Sylvian recruited them to help the government of Zenzic. So they are working as a volunteer, as they are getting salary, but there is no involvement of the government of Severin and Sylvian here. So it is not international armed conflict at all in this perspective.
So what do you think, that the volunteers, they can't form military forces?
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, they did not form military forces. They just help the Zenzic military as they get salary. Sometimes they help just.
Do you have the Geneva Conventions, Third Geneva Conventions of 1949 with you?
Beg pardon, Your Excellencies. The Council.
What is your researcher? Who is your researcher? Rabi Akhtar? You are the researcher?
Yes,
Unmute.
sir.
Okay. So do you have the Third Geneva Convention with you?
Beg your pardon, Excellency. I couldn't get the answer. I couldn't get the question.
Or you couldn't get the question. Do you have the Third Geneva Convention of 1949 with you at this moment? Can't you get me?
I beg your pardon, Excellency. Could you please repeat the question again?
Do you have the Geneva Conventions with you at this moment?
Yes, sir. I have the Geneva Convention. Could you, Your Excellency, give me a second to open the.
I want to refer Article 4, capital A of the Third Geneva Convention. Whether the volunteer corps and can be treated as a malicious. What is your idea about this? As you are the researcher, you conducted a lot of research on this issue, I think.
Your Excellency, could you please repeat the article, please?
Article 4, capital A.
Article 4.
I think you must have the printed form with you. Okay, so when this is a virtual form of mooting, when it is in the real courtroom scenario, you must have the printed form of Geneva Conventions with you, and you have to have refer it when the judge asks you about this instrument, right? And you have to know Article 4, capital A of the Third Geneva Conventions, where the term combatant has been defined. So what is meant by regular armed forces? And according to these definitions, the volunteer corps may include within the ambit of combatant. Okay, Saira Tauri, you may proceed. Council number 2, defense team.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, the fifth element is that the perpetrator was aware of the factual circumstances that establish the
existence of an armed conflict. No, Your Excellencies, the perpetrator was not aware of the factual circumstances. Your Excellencies, according to the case Prosecutor versus Gallic, it was stated that there must be a chain of command. According to the fact, Brigadier Xzavier gave a statement by denying Zenzic military forces' involvement with Dashi Defender. The member of Dashi Defender acted independently. So the perpetrator was not aware of the factual circumstances that established the existing of an armed conflict. Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Could the Council get 1 more minute for prayer, Your Excellencies?
Yes.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, it is humble submission before the court that the accused should be declared acquitted from the charges of crime against humanity and war crime, considering the absence of the element of the crime. Much obliged, Your Excellencies.
Thank you. Now
Now
I think
we are moving to rebuttal part.
rebuttal, right.
I am inviting the rebuttal. I am inviting to defense to present a rebuttal.
So I think prosecution will go first. Why you are asking for defense?
Okay, but the needless to Bangladesh, I skip giving to defense first. Okay, now I am inviting the prosecuting to present their rebuttal.
Right.
Your Excellency, may I please.
Yes. Proceed
Much
on.
obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, the 4 points to rebuttal. Your Excellencies, firstly, I want to draw your kind attention. The first orally reasonable basis, draw your kind attention to the agreed fact statement of fact para 14 and para 16, where we will see that the DD is Darcy defender is widely accused by the victim of attacks, and victim have witnessed this attack, and also many media, international media and organization also indicated that Darcy defender is attacking them under the command of Brigadier Xzavier. Many and numerous kind of witnesses also have mentioned this. So witnesses, proof of witnesses, victim. Please mute everyone. Please mute their microphone. I am just this is hampering my submission. Your Excellencies, they have mentioned the Article 7B of the Rome Statute. There is no
Abu Mohsin. Muhammad Abu Mohsin, could you please turn off your microphone? Thank you.
Your Excellencies, the Defense Council have mentioned Article 7B of the Rome Statute, and they are submitting that there is no reason for Zenzic. Yes, Your Excellencies, we also saying that the Zenzic is unwilling because they after seeing this brutality conducted for 4 years, and according to Article 7B of the Rome Statute, if the state is unwilling for prosecuting a crimes against the humanity or war crimes, in that case, prosecutor may initiate the court to and submit the case to the court to prosecute this case. Your Excellencies, I
Counsel,
want to.
Counsel,
Yes, sir.
is there any evidence that the state is unwilling to prosecute
Yes, Your
Mr.
Excellencies,
Brigadier
I
Xzavier?
have evidence that state is unwilling. Your Excellencies, I'll have to refer your, I'll have to draw your kind attention the para 9 and the 14 of the statement of agreed fact, where the grave breach of human rights is committed in the territory of Zenzic. But after seeing this territory committing the war crimes or crimes against humanity, or many flicks are going on, the Republic of Zenzic didn't take any initiative to stop this violence. They didn't prosecuted this case in the national court also. So this is the proof that they are unwilling. And also the Defense Council have mentioned that this state had no reason to prosecute this case. That's why the prosecutor of the ICC now requesting the ICC to investigate this case, Your Excellencies.
Don't you think that the state of Zenzic is bound to initiate the proceedings under the Rome Statute under the heading of complementarity principles?
Your Excellencies, they are a national court. ICC firstly expect that a national court can prosecute the crimes against humanity war crime first. But if it is stated in the Article 7B of the Rome Statute that if the state is unwilling or unable or genuine, or there is no genuineness to prosecute for the interest of the victim, the prosecutor of the ICC can mention this case in the ICC. And I have also mentioned you many cases, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Darfur, Sudan. In this type of cases, the prosecutor of the ICC have submitted this case to the ICC, and ICC grant in the preliminary examination, Your Excellencies.
Could you please describe me the present judicial conditions, the structure of the state of Zenzic? And
Yes, Your Excellencies.
do you think that because of the huge presence of the military officials in the judicial organ, and also the Attorney General, who is also a retired military officer, is there any connection that they are unwilling to prosecute Brigadier Xzavier in the present incident?
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, Zenzic, in the fact no, 3, or it was referred that Zenzic military is highly biased about the militias, because many militias are now in the judiciary. So, in the Article 7B of the Rome Statute also declared if the state is unable, in that situation also this case should be admissible to the court. And we're referring you that this state is unwilling as well as unable to conduct and to serve the victim of for the interest of justice. They're unable or unwilling, in Your Excellencies, but this case is admissible to the court under this article, Your Excellencies.
Yes, proceed on.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, I want to show you the second point of rebuttal, where the defense counsel has mentioned the preparator did not kill the victim. That's why he should not be liable. I'm respectfully disagree with this, because they have referred Articles 28A of the common responsibility, but highly disagree because I want to draw your kind attention to the in the basic trial chamber of the Your Excellencies, where it is described that Your Excellencies, can I have 1 more minute?
Yes.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. Your Excellencies, trial chamber, it was stated that the superior subordinate relationship between the commanders, where there is a reason to know, the superior has a reason to know the crime has been committed in the territory, and an accused has failed to take necessary action. This was held in the Blasik trial chamber. Your Excellencies, the crime have been committing in the territory, in the massive violation of human rights is committing in the territory of Zenzic for long 4 years. So it is quite impossible that Brigadier as Xzavier as a brigadier of the armed force was completely don't have any knowledge about the crime have been committed, or he was totally ignorant about this. So in this trial chamber decision, we submit that he is liable. Your Excellencies, I like to refer 1 more point, is that they are referring that Xzavier has stated that they have the Darcy defender who don't have any relationship with Zenzic. First of all, Your Excellencies, Brigadier Xzavier is now the accused. So his statement cannot be Your Excellencies.
Thank you, Counsel.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies.
Yeah.
Now I'm inviting the defense to present their serve rebuttal.
May it please Your Excellencies?
Yes, please.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies. The Defense Counsel would like to move to rebuttal. Your Excellencies, under Article 66, the onus of proving the accusations is on the prosecution. However, Your Excellencies, after the arguments presented by my learned opposition counsel, it can be concluded that the elements have not been proven beyond reasonable doubt. Your Excellencies, I would like to point out that the element number 4 and 5 of issue number 3 that has been submitted by the prosecution counsel number 2, they have failed to establish element number 4 and 5 of issue number 3. They have not explained nor even talked about it. Your Excellencies, I would like to talk about the case of Kaishima and Ruzandana, 1999, in the trial chamber, paragraph 133 to paragraph 134. It is said that, Your Excellencies, to be held liable, the perpetrator must have actual or constructive knowledge of the broader attack, meaning that the accused must know this act is part of a widespread or systematic attack on civilian population. Your Excellencies, I would like to draw your attention that anywhere in the agreed upon fact, it has never been agreed upon, or there is no shred of evidence that Brigadier Xzavier had ever pre-concocted conceived to systematic attack on civilian population. Thus, the accusations brought by the prosecution are doubts in every statement presented by prosecution counsel. They have failed to establish the L as such. We cannot say that they have proven any points or that beyond reasonable doubt, Brigadier Xzavier can be held accountable for crimes against humanity and war crimes. If Your Excellencies do not have any further queries, defense would like to rest.
Thank you. Thank you.
Much obliged, Your Excellencies.
The court prosecuting is adjourned now. The counsels are requested to leave the courtroom and be prepared for the second round. And please be present at the next court 10 minutes before the scheduled time. Thank you. Please leave the courtroom.
Hey there. Subscribe to my channel. And also press this bell icon.